Well, as you can see, we are not in the jungle, but it kind of looks like we are today. It is snake season, and we have some friends here that have been handling snakes and working kind of in this environment for years now to rehab, rehome, and rehabilitate snakes that are found in our area. So we want to welcome the Penrod Flock, as you're called. Introduce yourselves, and then tell me a little bit about who you have here today.
Hi. So my name is Devin Penrod. I've been working with snakes since I was about 5 years old. This is my wife, Sherry.
Hi.
She's been handling snakes for almost 5 years now. We find snakes that are in bad places or are in unwanted locations, backyards and in houses sometimes. And we just try to give them a second chance.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people might have a reaction right away if they find a snake in their home or in a spot where it's not supposed to be. They might try to kill it, but you're here today to kind of educate and give us a little bit more awareness about what we should and shouldn't do if we see a snake.
They don't want anything to do with you. If you leave them alone, they will leave you alone. And if they're not slithering off, you can just take a hose and just squirt a little bit of water. They'll slither off. It's cold. They don't like it. They'll slither off and leave you alone.
All right, so Cherry, who do you have wrapped around you? And I hear that you are the main handler for this gal.
This is Miss Opal. We've had her for about 2 years now. She came from a sister rescue of ours in Austin. Got too big for her, so she came to us. She's in a 250-gallon tank now, but she is our main showstopper, as we say, when we go to schools and everything. She's the last thing that comes out, and it's pretty fun seeing all the kids scream and yell and get excited about. We have pictures of kids holding it. It's pretty cool.
Really, you're trying to change people's perceptions from maybe a negative one into a more positive one, and then being able to kind of coexist with snakes as well. Tell me who you guys brought in today.
We have a king snake. His name is Odin. And then we have these three are all ball pythons. We have a pied ball python, a Mojave ball python, and a ghost ball python. And it's Pied, Indiana Jones, and Cookie.
Snake season kind of comes in waves. So tell me what kind of calls you've been getting from people who have found snakes on their property, and then share with us what's the strangest place that you've gotten a call about.
So most of the time snakes are found so far this year on front porches. But I would say so far the weirdest place that I've found a snake, it was a rat snake, and he was inside somebody's house in an AC unit. I had to pull the filter and the covers off, the side panels off, and it was weird.
And none of the snakes that you brought today are venomous, correct?
No, none of them are venomous. Some of the other weird spots is we found a rattlesnake under somebody's Christmas tree, and we also found another rat snake in somebody's washer drain.
Snakes go wherever there's food. So if you've got snakes around your house, you've got rodents or birds or something else around your house that they're trying to hunt.
Is there anything they can do to kind of repel snakes, especially if they've got young kids and that sort of thing, and they just want to make sure their environment doesn't attract snakes?
So snake repellents don't work. The best thing you can do is keep your property clear of any debris, keep your lawn mowed, edged, weed whacked. Those are the best things you can do.
If you're clearing your yard and you're moving sheets of plywood and you find a snake, all of a sudden they see this big scary predator 5 feet above them, so they get really defensive and they can try to run off, or they'll turn around and they'll try to bite you. And I mean, rat snakes, rattlesnakes, copperheads, they all can be found under sheets of plywood or corrugated tin. The big thing is just leave it alone and it'll leave you alone.
That is the big takeaway. Leave it alone and it will leave you alone. Before we bring in Dr. Dominic Lucia to talk about specifically snake bites, if the worst does happen to someone, tell me just why you guys have a heart for this, why you enjoy doing this work.
Every living creature has a right to live. They all work in the ecosystem, so from the smallest snakes to the biggest snakes, they all help our ecosystem. I mean, yes, they're scary looking, but they're just big puppy dogs. They just want love.
I know you're like almost convincing me that Opal is a gentle giant, so to speak.
4 years ago, I was absolutely petrified of snakes. Now, Opal's our biggest snake that we have in the rescue, and I'm her main handler. He taught me everything I know, from reading their body language to knowing if they're hungry, knowing if they're going to strike, everything. So it's reading their body language just like a dog or a cat. If you know that they're in a aggressive position, you don't mess with them. If you get a snake handler or a snake hook, something along those lines, or you call us and we come remove them, so that way we can give them a second chance at life.
When we come back, we're going to hear from Dr. Dominic Lucia about snake bites and some of the great tips for families out there as we head into the summer season. We're just days away from our kids getting out for summer break and being in the yards and all across the neighborhoods. And of course, they may not be alone. They may be joined by some snakes. And so we have Dr. Dominic Lucia, the Chief Medical Officer for McLean Children's Hospital, here with us to kind of go over some tips and some awareness factors for families so they can kind of be safer this summer. So first, tell me how we can prevent any snake bites. And I do want to point out that the snakes we're surrounded by are all non-venomous right now, but you know, families may run into some venomous snakes out there. So how can we prevent a snake bite?
Yeah, as a pediatric ER physician, this topic's near and dear to my heart because as the weather warms up, unfortunately, we always have several kids in the Central Texas area that come in for snake bites and venomations. Some by poisonous snakes, some not, but it's always a scary time. One of the common themes we hear is the child is in a yard that's maybe a little bit high grass. We have wood piles, we have toys, old pools, things like that, and we're reaching under something, not looking where we're sticking our hands. And so keeping that environment clean and tidy prevents the snakes who are just out hunting, living their best life, from running into where your children are playing, and that's where obviously the conflict occurs. And one big thing that we sometimes forget is rodents. If you have rodents anywhere around your home, the snakes, they like rodents. So one way to keep snakes away is to keep the rodents away as well. So there's some environmental factors to really think about to keep those environments safe for our kids while they're out during the summer.
So walk us through what happens if a child gets bit by a snake, the parents call 911 or they bring them into the hospital. What needs to be happening either while they're waiting on emergency personnel to show up or as they're taking them to the hospital?
Yeah, that really two phases. So at the scene of the bite, one of the biggest things is we want people to stay calm. The more adrenaline and running around and freaking out really can assist the venom, if there is an envenomation, in spreading systemically in the child. So we want to lay them down. We want to have the bite at the level of the heart if possible. We want to remove any rings, watches, any tight-fitting jewelry. Of course, while you're doing this, you're calling 911. And you're getting emergency personnel to transport the child to the closest emergency department. So those are the big keys. Staying calm, staying safe from the snake is also important. We sometimes have people that want to go kill the snake, whether it's out of revenge or whether they think it's going to help the physicians treat it better. A picture of the snake is reasonable, but don't waste time trying to capture the snake, kill the snake. We've had people secondarily bit. You have the first person bit, now the second person's bit, and creates more chaos. So if you can get a picture of the snake, that's great. If someone kills it and you get a picture of it, that's great, but don't spend too much time doing that. Let's just work on keeping the child calm and getting them to the ER.
And is that a picture or just the snake bite itself? Can that tell you what it was that bit the child, or you can tell pretty quickly if it was venomous or non-venomous?
It really has to do more with the picture of the snake initially, because the bites can be fairly ambiguous early on. It's like, is that fang marks? How far are those apart? So really, the picture of the snake can help you early on. Now, the bite will declare itself as time passes along, and if it's a true envenomation, you're going to have lots of pain at the site. There's going to be swelling, bruising that spreads from the site, usually up the limb. That's the most common thing to be bitten. And then you can even get in systemic symptoms where you have dizziness, numbness, tingling, seizure activity, sweating, even up to bleeding, because a lot of the snake venom from the local species that we have bleeding properties where it thins your blood. So it's kind of a wide range, and really the first initial moments of that care and the minutes after declare itself.
And I really think that maybe some myths surrounding snake bites, a lot of people carry them. What are some of the common misconceptions that you hear? And that can kind of harm the physician's job down the line if people are doing things that make it worse.
Yeah, that is true. This is not gun smoke. We are not sucking out venom anymore in 2024. We don't want to cut into the fang marks. We don't want to use these suction devices. They're still available on Amazon and other things. You really want to leave the site alone. Like I said, remove any tight-fitting jewelry, anything like that could get constricted once swelling occurs. Keep the child calm, keep the bite at the level of the heart, and call for the experts.
Okay, now speaking of experts, we have the Penrod Flock, who are going to join us right now. They've got Cherry has Opal around her neck, and you've agreed to handle a snake.
I have, against my better judgment, yes.
I know I said I wasn't going to do it, but Devron, show us kind of how a snake should be handled. And this is not, and we want to point out, we're not telling people go pick up snakes and do that sort of thing. We're just showing a demonstration of handling a snake.
So typically, when you're going to go and handle a snake, you don't go straight for the head. I mean, as you see, we saw movement, so the head goes straight up. You always go from the middle to the back of the snake, and you can bring it straight on out. It now knows that we're not a predator because we're not trying to hurt him, and there's not really a wrong way to hold them as long as they're nice and secure.
He's interested in you.
Okay, do I need to move into a different, you know what, Dr. Lucia, why don't you move over here? And I'll go over here.
Right. Pythons have heat pits versus boas with no heat pits. So he just picked up on your heat signature. He's not looking at you as like food or prey.
I think he is picking up on my heat because I'm sweating over here because I specifically said I was not going to handle a snake. But I love, though, the fact all of the awareness and the education that all of you brought today. I think our families are going to have a great, safe summer. And snakes can be a lot of fun.
Well, absolutely. Done in the right setting with the right type of snake, they can be great pets, but be careful out there during the Texas summer for sure.
All right, awesome.